Good morning, boys and girls. Today we're going to work on our third paragraph of our biography. We've written our introduction. We've written our body paragraph 1, which was about the childhood. And now today we're going to do our body paragraph number 2, which is about what made that person famous or why they're remembered. The first thing you should always do is go back and read your other 2 paragraphs to make sure they make sense. You might change your mind. So the first paragraph is our introduction, and most of us did the suppose way. Suppose you were a young girl playing outside your home. Suppose you were thrown in a ship and placed in the ship's hull with the ugly rats. Suppose you heard the adults who were handcuffed in chains crying and moaning. Suppose after 10 weeks at sea you arrived at the Boston harbor in 1761. Suppose you were frail, scared, and naked. Your name was Phyllis Wheatley, and you are now a slave in the American colonies. That was our thesis statement. And now we're going to go to our first paragraph. Remember, we're doing CER paragraphs. The first one claimed yesterday was Phyllis's childhood was, and we had to finish it. My claim was that she was ripped away from her. She was bought by Susanna Wheatley to become her servant or slave. Mrs. Wheatley soon realized that Phyllis was bright. She learned English very quickly, and Miss Wheatley decided to teach her to read. She learned how to read quickly and started to read the Bible. For example, she did so well that she learned difficult subjects like Greek, Latin, mathematics, and poetry. Because she loved to read poetry, Phyllis began to write poetry when she was very young. Now, here's my reasoning statement. In other words, Phyllis was extremely intelligent. Now, remember, after our second paragraph, we're going to hit enter 1, 2 times, and they'll be ready. That'll be like indenting. And this is going to be my claim. Everyone should start with a person's name. Phyllis was remembered for her poetry. Now, you could say Neil Armstrong was remembered for walking on the moon. Or you could say Harriet Tubman was remembered for being a spy and the greatest conductor on the Underground Railroad. Now, all of that, since my claim was she's remembered for her poetry, my evidence has to be all about her poetry. So here's my evidence. She was the first African woman to have a book published. On January 24, 1774, the Boston Gazette told people how to purchase her book. The book was called Poems on Various Subjects, Religious and Moral. Now notice that I underline that because it's the name of a book. We underline it, and every important word is capitalized. This was shocking for the time. It was illegal to teach African Americans to read, so what Phyllis did was extraordinary. Now, that was my evidence. Now, here's my reasoning, and we've already said in other words, and we don't want to use it twice, so we're going to use a different sentence starter. We're going to say consequently. Make sure you spell it right. Consequently. Phyllis's poems showed the hurt of being taken away from her home and her love of freedom. So let's look carefully. Phyllis was remembered for her poetry, is the claim. All the section in the middle is the evidence. We have lots of evidence. I'm going to put it in blue. And then our last sentence is going to start with consequently. That is our reasoning statement. I'm going to put that in yellow. I'll probably do green. I'll think about it. It'll be easier to see. So each paragraph should have a claim. It should have lots of evidence and a reasoning statement. You did a great job. I can't wait to read your paragraphs. Please reread it before you submit it. Thanks, guys. Hopefully, I can get it to stop.